You're now in what's supposed to be freedom, and it definitely isn't all it cracked up to be.
No. The question of should you get married for sex, the answer is no. But should you be out there having sex?
The answer is no.
The answer is no. So I think, sadly, as women, there are a lot of women who compromise and ignore because they just want to be wanted. But don't want children for the sake of having children or the pressure of having children. And recognise who you're having a child with. Well, how come he gets freedom? How come? Cool. Feel it. But don't let that be your narrative. So learning to be alone. Don't shy away from having a conversation about finance, about sexual expectations, spiritual expectations, what your love language is, understanding each other's love language and willing to accommodate to that love language. Both.
Time is money, so spend yours listening to me talk about things that are important to me and my people.
Time is money. Welcome to the final episode of the third series. I'm back again with Heba and we are just getting deeper and deeper. This is going to round up the series where we've spoken about her journey into marriage, number 1, motherhood, divorce, marriage number 2, and the life of happiness that she's got ahead of her. But that's a sped up version and we're very aware of that. So this episode, we're going to focus on the lessons from everything. And if you want to know how we got here, a little preview of the previous episode is playing now.
Respectfully, I think every single person who's co-parenting has a right to meet the person's spouse or their partner before they dive deep or as they're getting deeper.
And we're going to kick off with the first marriage again. We're going to skip all the way back. I know you can't get away from it today, but we're going to go to exactly. I just want to understand, because I'm thinking of the women that are listening, and I'm thinking of back to like the cultural side of things and how we are so enclosed with that thinking that we cannot escape. Basically, like you said, you're in this tight hold because marriage is supposed to be freedom and the past to let you do loads of things such as travel, live out from your parents' home, experience certain things, etc, etc. You're now in what's supposed to be freedom, and it definitely isn't all it cracked up to be.
No.
And it might not even be, it may be less freedom than what you started with, potentially. So I wondered, what advice do you have, or where do you go if you're a woman in that same situation? What would you say to her? What would you say to you in that time, knowing what you know now?
I think not putting too much weight on the freedom part. I think accepting that actually everything takes its time. And sometimes, I mean, let's face it, living at your parents' yard is affordable. But also take time to learn yourself. Like truly, truly learn what you want and what you yearn for. Not what society is trying to push on you, not what you've been listening to. That's been kind of almost brainwashing you and your values. Understand why you want to get married.
I think that is
the true understanding of marriage to you, what you value as marriage. Because when people say, oh yeah, I just got someone to convert to Islam so I can get married, or we're married but whatever, we're just doing it for the sake of our parents. Don't do anything for the sake of your parents. If you're someone of faith, do it for the sake of God. So make sure you're serving yourself something. So it has to align with your values. If you don't have values in marriage, then just don't do it.
What about marrying to have sex? Hard, isn't it, that one?
It's hard. It's definitely hard. What I will say is if you do have sex out of marriage and if you're going through it, because obviously your audience probably be a bit younger than mine and maybe a bit same age or older, but what I'll say is don't put a lot of weight on it. So don't see it as, oh, if I've had sex with someone, I now have to get married to them. I've now given myself
tainted myself.
Yeah, I think if you're sincerely feeling it, as in the guilt, and you don't approve of what you've done, and it's like you got caught up in a situation. I know like some will throw comments to go, well, why are you there in the first place? Why are you putting... We're human. In this generation, we're so exposed to the idea of romance and feelings of being desired, companionship, to be wanted, to be needed, both men and women for different purposes and different times and different intentions. So it's like we're likely to fall short somewhere. And to some people, having sex isn't falling short, but for people who do follow a certain faith, they see it as a fall short situation.
Totally. And again, in my case, it wasn't even faith. It was more culture. And mum.
Exactly. That's it. So I think it's, don't either go left and go, do you know what? Well, now that I've had sex, let me just go crazy with it. And well, if I'm going to sin, I might as well just be a true sinner. No, like, forgive yourself and just keep focused, you know what I mean? And if you want to do it right, do it right. But if this person's not the right person for you, but now that you've had sex, you feel obligated to, that don't. Like, God is forgiving, God is merciful. We all make mistakes. In school we make mistakes. Even parents, you could put on time out or you get punishment. and you continue. You're not like sentenced to a life or death situation.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just go easier on ourselves and also just constantly G-check ourselves. Who do I want to be? Not what I should love myself less or more as a result of my decisions. The question of should you get married for sex? The answer is no. But should you be out there having sex?
The answer is no.
The answer is no. So I think it's just truly just being intentional and just trying to protect yourself from just any energy, not just sexual energy, just bad exchanges of experiences that then mess up opportunities for you in the future.
No, I totally agree. And I'm reading this book at the moment, and like, I think that and therapy has been really a big savior for me at the moment. And the book's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's all about changing your mindset towards things and really healing from things, and the power of visualization and tapping into your subconscious and just really having that connection to yourself kind of thing. And there's a bit in it at the moment talking about how we make such a mistake to think that we are our actions. So if I drop a ball, that doesn't mean I'm a dropper. Do you know what I mean? There was a study that showed that parents of children, when they were learning to speak, the parents that jumped straight to the hesitation their children had to speak and was like, he's probably a stutterer. Yep, he stutters. Oh God,
you're
labeling
labeling
he's got a
them.
stutter.
Yeah.
They now think they can't speak and that they are stutterers basically.
It knocks
so they
on their
stutter.
confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then there was other parents who just said, oh, he didn't speak until he was blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he didn't speak, he this, he that. And the parents who thought their kids were stutterers and then ended up having a stutter, they would say he won't speak, he can't speak, he couldn't speak until he was blah, blah, blah. So it's just about how you speak about things, your language, and how the importance you attach to things.
100%.
And that's the same thing can be said for this. I think, like I said, I had that moment myself where I had sex and it was a very traumatic experience because I didn't get the result that I wanted and it didn't go how I wanted it to go, and two very different people and blah, blah, blah. And I could have easily, I remember in that moment thinking, I was on the bus and I was like, all I want to do is be with someone else now. Not because I wanted to have sex again or whatever. I just wanted to feel, I felt so low, and I just felt like the only thing that can validate me is like another man's approval almost, or validation.
I think some women can definitely resonate with that, and it can be a vicious cycle. But I think what I'll say is people put a lot of weight on sex. And then some people go, oh, well, I'll do everything besides sex. Or, you know, I'll engage in so many other relationships, and they put so much weight and stress on sex that they're actually hurting themselves in other ways. Let's say they're holding off the sex.
100%.
But they'll feel not so great about themselves for doing other things.
Yeah.
Or just trying to jump into things and they're emotionally damaging themselves. I think focus on putting weight on your purpose and your own values and your self-worth, and not saying that having sex with people ruins or lessens your self-worth, but how you then perceive yourself after it is what then determines your self-worth.
Said beautifully. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. That's exactly the point. And I'm trying to put that across in a way where, well, I now have it because I'll use that soundbite. But honestly, that's exactly what it is. It's not that the act makes you less of a person. It's the effect it's going to have on you and how you view yourself. And the reason you'll view yourself that way is because of how you've been brought up. Yeah. If you've been brought up to believe a certain thing or a certain way, you can't escape that. Yeah. So now when you've taken that action and you've done that, you can't help but think that. I was a grown woman, I was 19, I was doing my thing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now that I've had sex, all I hear is my mum's voice saying, why did you, what, oh my God, you've done this, you've done that. Yes, we've obviously resolved it later, but the only reason I felt that way was because I knew at the time, deep down, that wasn't right. Like that wasn't supposed to be how it went, kind of thing.
And just quickly, like, we focus a lot on culture, and I think it's like from a faith perspective, like you have people like who are imams, for example, and they've got kids and their kids have stepped out, they've rebelled for whatever reason, but they're more understanding than someone who's been raised in a different culture who are also Muslim, but because they're so culturally led, it's a disgrace, it's a dishonor, it's just, you know, you've embarrassed our family, you know, there's honor killings, there's forced marriages, but Islamically none of this is correct. So if you were to step to the correct mosque, they'll be like, just repent to God. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, God's made us flawed, not for you to abuse it and go, well, you know, I'm flawed, so let me just know, but accept that I will slip up in something, whether it's I'm gonna steal something, or I'm gonna cheat someone, or cheat on an exam, or do whatever. It doesn't mean I have to be a cheat for the rest of my life because I've managed to finesse a situation. It's I have to go through these hardships to shape me into who I am today. But don't be hard on yourself. Don't listen to culture to sort of dictate. go back to your faith. If you have a faith, go back to your faith. And faith is very merciful and very forgiving. And it's like, why is it okay for men to exchange all these energies culturally when you're going to be faced by the same situation? So I just think if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. That take it for that and learn for yourself. Learn what your purpose is and grow. Allow yourself to evolve and pay attention to things and experiences around you. You don't have to experience it yourself in order for you to learn from it. Or just watch other people and know what you want for yourself and what you don't want for yourself.
And go through, as you said in the previous episode, go through situations with your eyes open. And what I mean by that is you're truly experiencing what's happening in this moment, because it's like eating. If you're eating food in front of the TV mindlessly, you look down and you finished a whole bag of crisp or a whole bag of, do you know what I mean, whatever, and you can't even remember how it feels, really. You can't even remember the taste. Yeah, literally. But when you're having an incredible meal and you've got nothing in the background and you're just eating that food, every spoon you can taste everything, and it's like, oh my god, and you're so much fuller at the end of it.
But also you're able to see if there's hair in your food or if there's like uncooked bit of meat, then you're able to just take it for what it is rather than go, oh, but look at this. Like, I think also when your eyes aren't completely in, you put blinders or blinkers on, you're ignoring all the red flags.
Absolutely, exactly. So that's what I was going to say. You can take every taste from it and feel the full experience and the fullness, and you can also see everything as well. So just try to apply that to life, especially romantic relationships. I think time and time again, that's the conversation I have with all my friends, and I'm just like, yeah, but 2 months ago when we had this same conversation about X, why are you now confused when it's happening with Y? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, anyway.
But it's very common amongst women, like very common. I don't care what anyone wants to say in the comments or whatever. Like, I've seen people be so pragmatic and very matter of fact in their comments, and I'm just like, life is very real.
Yeah.
And women are that naive. Some women are that naive. Some women are manipulative, and why men are burnt. And it's like there's definitely different extreme ends. But then, sadly, as women, there are a lot of women who compromise and ignore because they just want to be wanted. But it's not the kind of want you should have for yourself.
I agree. And when it comes to motherhood, what gems do you have? I'm talking all the way through the pregnancy or the conceiving, even, like, not as in the actual conceiving, but like
basically
talking about and coming up with, okay, this is when we want to have kids and how we're going to do it. You know, people out there who are starting to think about planning a family or are maybe a bit unsure about the relationship, and then they do want to have kids. What would you say?
I mean, firstly, like, I've always wanted to be, like, I've never been broody, never like looked at people's kids and went, oh my god, me one day. But I always knew I wanted a family. I saw my family. My mum had us from when she was like 22. I had goals to have like a young family. I wasn't like, oh my god, I must work. I'm not career oriented. I've gone from job to job to job because I need to provide for my son because I was a single mother. And that's why I've moved careers. But for me, I've always wanted to be a wife and a mother. Like, the nurturing element just makes so much sense to me. Traditional roles make sense to me. So for me, it's understanding what motherhood looks like. Understanding it's not easy. It's a very selfless act. As much as you've decided to have children, it's because you've decided that you have a purpose, and that purpose is to nurture and to basically help raise foundations into children and be the next generation of human beings. Don't want children for the sake of having children or the pressure of having children, and recognize who you're having a child with. Because if you can't see that person raise all your children and you can't see how they're going to be impacting them in a positive way, why are you doing it? Don't feel like, oh my god, they're going to change. Take them for face value, like you said. Be very careful, because all the values that they carry is all they're going to teach their children. They're not going to suddenly have this, they might have this random bit of like reflection and growth and fix up and want to be this incredible father because they've learned from whether they've had an absent father and they want to be a present father and they want to change a narrative. Great, but don't bank on it. That's a very slim, but happens. I've seen men like really want to become everything their dad wasn't, you know, or they might have really different examples of fatherhood.
That could also be toxic as well, because, again, use my own personal example. My dad is from a generation, and his dad was a generation of men that don't go into the kitchen, or they won't even, you know, the fact that my dad used to take, my grandparents live in Rugby, he used to take us down from London to go see them in Rugby, and he would like, even when my brother was a baby and stuff, that to them that was like groundbreaking. Like, this is not a man's role to be doing that. Do you know what I mean? And he was doing the minimum, but to them that's like, so then my dad actually thought he was an incredible dad, because he like was present. He would his line for everything was, "I'm here every night." That to him was like
the soul set the presidency to that.
Exactly.
I think it's just understanding what you truly want rather than what culturally is a norm. Because culturally is a norm is, well, he might disrespect you, or she might not do this, but is she good to your children? Like, there's very warped concepts of what family values are. So I think it's just really understanding. Obviously, we live in an era and a time where we're exposed to everything, and we can pretty much identify our needs if we're being true and honest to ourselves. Just don't compromise on it. Don't compromise on that. And when you're ready to have a child, understand there's a blessing in that child. If you're doing things in the best manner to honour your children, financially, there's never going to be a right time. When people go, oh, I need to save this much money, and you don't know what life's going to bring your way. You can have 30, 40k in the bank for one first child, and then your car breaks down and you're already pregnant. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So I think for me, just be sensible about your decision and just trust the process and know that no one's got a book for it. It's a freestyling game, but it's a very selfless freestyle game. So it's just, as long as you've got love to pour and you're serving yourself as well as a parent, because you're not just a mother, you're also a human being, a spouse, a friend.
How do you bring in a person who isn't from your culture into your family? Like, what is the starter handbook? Because you did it seamlessly eventually. In the end, they liked him.
White hair at the age of 19.
They liked him in the end, so that's a good job. That's a job well done.
I think I can't. It's really hard because there's so many women that are doing it for the wrong reasons. Like, they're getting married to these guys, but they're still living their best lives together. They're just basically, it's a facade for the sake of the family. Like, you know, I know girls who are like, he's Muslim, or he's this and he's that, but they're both going out drinking, doing what they want. Do you? Like, I'm not here. Like, I don't judge. I don't care. Life is real, and everyone's got their own struggles. But what I'll say is, if you're truly someone who, I can only speak as a Muslim. If you're someone, for example, of a Muslim faith or any other faith, and you're both trying to adhere to that, but the issue is culture, is know yourself, know your purpose, know what our faith stands when it comes to culture and when it comes to race, and just continue to approach it in that manner. And if that person's correct, there's nothing that will stop you from getting married to that person, because it's undeniable. If you have to get imams involved, get people of like the church, whatever your background is, to intervene and say something, because you just going, well, I know I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm gonna get married anyway. You need your family support. You need that backbone that raised you. So it's gonna require some education. It's gonna require some patience.
Because I agree with that as well. But what do you say to people who feel like it's so hard that they have to just cut the family out and they have to go forward without family? Because they're holding them back.
I think if you've tried everything, even from an Islamic perspective, if you've tried everything and this person, and you know this person is good for your soul, you know this person is, we're not living double life trying to fool mum and dad, right? Let's keep it real. And you know this person's going to honour you when your family are now disconnected from you. So you're not going to feel like you're now imprisoned in this next person's life and you've got no support, you can't call out for help. This is a massive investment you're making. You're choosing to cut off your whole family and some of your friends who are conflicted for the sake of this human being. Make it worth it. Make sure you're going to be safe. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, if this person's truly honourable and this is like the right person for you, and your parents are just ignorant and they're not going to shift, and you've done everything you can, Islamically you're allowed to get married to this person. There's nothing that's going to stop you. It's not an invalid marriage because they're practicing, they're good people, they're whatever, but people are just ignorant and they're racist. That's a them problem. It shouldn't stop you from moving forward. But I can't advise people to do it because some people get killed over it.
This is it.
So it's just, you know your safety net, you know what you need to do. But sadly, I've seen men say, I'm Bengali, I can't marry someone outside my culture. And I'm like, but you're a whole grown man. They're like, my mum won't have it. I said, but your mum's a person. But because culture's winning so much over faith, they just, but they'll go link a million girls, different races, different whatever. when it comes to finding a wife, nah, man, probably marry like someone from back home, innit?
Yeah,
just like-
literally. It's like having a conversation with them right now. What you just said is so accurate.
It's such a shame, but like they're not truly happy. They're probably going to end up stepping out on their wives.
Yeah.
Because...
But unfortunately, again, because things are so culture driven, that is more acceptable. To disrespect a woman in the sanctity of marriage and step out on her, as long as you stay married and stay within this, we prefer that.
It's a shame. And it's a shame because we're all going to have to like eventually answer for our own individual actions, and it's long, man. It's going to be a hot one still.
So I've known you not personally but through social media for about 5 years, you know. Can you imagine? It's been that long.
You've been through the journey.
Literally. And when I first came across you, you were not skin out, but bordering on. Sometimes in the gym, crop top, leggings, hair obviously on show. And then...
waist out, everything.
Recently, I'd say in the last year, is that correct? Less than a year.
It's coming up to a year. God damn.
Okay, cool. So roughly a year, you have changed. I won't say radically because that's quite triggering.
Definitely not. Trust me.
You have changed your appearance by covering your hair. Yeah. And I'm sure a few other things. So how has that played into your journey that we've just really, really learned about?
Firstly, I can tell you for free right now, there's probably around 80% of men who are watching this going, oh, she's not really covering. What is this? It's not hijab. You can see her hair. You can see her neck. You can see her arms. So already I'm not Muslim enough. I'm not covered enough because I'm not covering. But what people forget is that there's a journey. And I've gone from
how I remember her, she is covered.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get it twisted. I've never had breast out. I mean, I don't have breasts anyway. But I'd wear skin tight stuff. I mean, still wearing skinny jeans right now. But as in, it's all like kind of showing off my waist because I'm shaped in a certain manner. And I know I got a bum. Like, you know, I knew how to dress for my figure. Do you know what I mean? And I did it and I was cool with it.
And we enjoyed it.
I mean, some people got upset when I covered, but it's what it is. I kind of started realising, like, we do this whole thing of, like, we want something and we're like, we feel we're so deserving of it. But we're not really growing in the way that we should be receiving it. So I never thought I'd be wearing a scarf until I'm like maybe in my 40s, remarried, settled down. Every time I meet a guy and they'd say, oh, so you're a single mum, you're divorced and you're not covering. They like my figure. They want it, but cover it up, mate. Or I can't get married to you till you cover. And I'm like, well, bun you. Because the way you're doing it, I don't want to wear a scarf. You put me off wearing a scarf because you're making it seem as if I'm not good enough because I haven't covered.
Yeah.
So for the sake of man, it will never happen. I thought maybe my husband would inspire me. So I thought when I meet my husband, whoever that person would be, once we get married, there'll just be that extra bit of encouragement and confidence for me to feel empowered to wear a scarf. Because to wear a scarf isn't for a man, it's for God. And it's this part of, just shows you're not more devout, but whether it's a scarf, whatever it is that you change within yourself, whenever you shift closer to God, however that looks like, it just shows that you're choosing to disconnect from this world and focus on your purpose. So for me, to wear a scarf would be to my standards, the next level of unlocking towards God. Didn't think it'll happen anytime soon. Then I started realising, you keep saying we want this, but what's our prayer saying? How much time are we invested in God? How much time are we truly trying to better ourselves? We can talk about it, we can put statuses about it, we can put memes up. But what are we doing to truly serve ourselves and our purpose? So then, come Eid, I'm wearing my scarf as I do for Eid prayers. My son wears his little outfit. And then I wore the scarf, and my son was like, the next day, he's like, Mum, are you going to wear it again? And I'm like, no. I'm like, would you like me to wear it again? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. Would you like me to wear it every day? He's like, yeah. I said, why? He went, I think you look very beautiful in it. Bear in mind, one of the main reasons why I'm not wearing it is vanity. Because I like my hair. And like even this morning, I was like, my hair's gone long. But only my husband gets to see it, or my siblings, or whoever.
Or son.
Or my son. And then suddenly, and I also thought it will block a blessing. Like I'm doing podding. People were like, oh, she's very strict. She doesn't want to sit with me.
It automatically disconnect from what you're saying.
So I'm now like, whatever. And then the minute he said it, it's as if like he's unlocked a next layer of confidence. This is the kid who gets to say to me, Mummy, why can't I be Christian? Because I want to celebrate Christmas and I want Easter eggs. I'm like, baby boy. So for him to say to me, like, I want you to wear it, everything that I ever reconsidered in life or prevented me from wearing it became so relevant. If anything, it flipped it to, I don't miss blessings. It wasn't my blessing to start off with. Why do I care so much about people's approval? Why do I care so much about my vanity? Why is my hair so important? I'm way beyond my own hair. It was a big step. I did it overnight. No one knew.
You've got a habit of not talking about your shit, haven't you? Because you didn't tell anyone about the marriage.
My mum watched me for 5 days. And she was like, yeah, but you wearing a scarf? I'm like, word on Sherlock. And she's like, I mean, I saw it, but I just wasn't sure. Like, you went to work. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to judge me. How am I going to feel? But genuinely, no one would have... Some people go, hey, but look, you're already morally in line to it. That you always, like, your energy speaks it. It's just, it would have been a natural transition. But for me, I felt like it was going to be a big deal. So I went to the gym. I thought the man them were going to be like... Instead, they were like, what are you saying, Herbs? You good? And everyone was normal. Work was normal. Everything was normal. And I'm just like... There's something... Like, I always say, like, I'm still the same person. But that'd be a lie. Because I feel like when I wore it, it comes with responsibility and duty. Because now people look at me and expect a different person. Not in the sense of... super strict or super whatever, but they now identify me as a Muslim. Before, they're like, I don't know, you look South American, you look this, you did this. No one assumed I was Muslim, or they assumed I was Muslim, but I'm not that practicing. So there was no weight.
Yeah.
There was no
exactly
comments.
Way to put it.
There was no, or like now.
Proof, almost.
Yeah, and there's also like, when I'm now podding and I'm wearing this, she calls herself Muslim, look at her out there, and it's just like, but if I wasn't wearing a scarf, you wouldn't say nothing to me.
No, exactly.
You wouldn't comment, you wouldn't criticise me, you'd probably compliment me and go, oh, I love what you spoke about.
Doing what you're doing, yeah, literally.
You know, I love your work rate in the gym. They would have gone ham on me for that, praising me. But now that I'm covering, it's just like, you're not doing it right. I'm like, brother, do you know what you're doing with your life? How are you going to try and look at me and judge me? In Islamic, you're not going to judge anyone. You're going to just accept everyone's on a journey and just pray for you. Do you know what I mean? But,
so you've had most heat from other Muslims?
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't have a single bit of heat for anyone else. Not a single other person. Literally, to this morning, I'm getting like messages on TikTok just slating how I dress. And I'm just like, if only you knew. And also, if only you knew how damaging that is to my... If I'm feeling weak right now and I'm not really feeling my scarf, you're making me feel like I shouldn't just wear it. Let me just take it off. Let me just... But yeah, everyone assumes I wore it for a man. But what it did happen was I met my husband like 3 days after it.
Oh, wow.
And I felt like that was God's going, cool, you've done something for me. Let me just give you this in return. And literally everything just lined up in my life. Like beautifully. And I don't say the hijab did this, but it's my commitment to God did that. Because I could have been wearing hijab when I was 13, but I would have changed something else in my life. For God to go, cool, you've been praying for this, here you go. Because God's timing is everything. So, as much as I didn't wear it for a man, God gave me everything I've been yearning for and I've been praying for. Because I took that next step. And that's that's the only sense I can make of it.
It's interesting you say that because in the Sikh religion, there's an equivalent of making that commitment and it's called taking Amrit. So when you do that, that's when I don't know exactly what the process is that you physically do, but you are in your heart supposed to be at that point where when you do this, you're making that commitment, and part of it is you do cover your hair.
Interesting.
And you stop, one of the big ones is you cover your hair and you don't touch your hair anymore. So like your hair that may grow like under your arms or anywhere else, you don't cut it. And like facial hair, don't touch it. Because this is like, it's all about being like the natural way God intended you to be kind of thing. So the first series I did on this podcast was with Jazzpreet, who you spoke about on yours, and she has done that. She's taken that journey, and she's spoken about how she'd wanted to do that for a very long time, but she didn't feel comfortable to do it until she was married, because then she knew she's got her person kind of thing.
It's interesting we put this much weight on marriage. It goes back to that again.
Yeah. And what I was saying is interesting about it is that for you, it was actually the step which got you into your marriage. Yeah. But for her, it was something which she was too scared to do before she was married.
That's exactly what I thought I was going to do. I was exactly like her, where it's like, I'm going to wait till I get married, then I'm going to change my ways.
Confident enough to...
But I think we also have this thing where we set variables on another human being.
Yeah.
And I think we should always seek things for ourselves, because if we die single, if we don't even live to seek happiness, have we fulfilled our purpose up until this point? And if we keep waiting for like, oh, maybe when I get a better job, or maybe when this happens, or maybe when that happens, that maybe may never come. So the minute that happened, like my son is truly the coolness of my eyes. Everything I've gone through, every hardship, he'll look at me, and then the way he says I love you, the way he hugs me, he can read my energy and just sort of know when to embrace me. Like he's always been the coolness of my eyes. So for him to say that to me, like I said, he wants to be Christian because he wants to celebrate Christmas.
Easter.
And Easter. He wants his Easter eggs and Christmas presents. So it's just like, to me, I had to pay attention to that. I had to pay very close attention and go, do you know what? Maybe that's God's wisdom. What am I going to say? And I just did it. And it's been, in April, be a year.
Wow. That's coming close.
I've got a long way. Like, my attire's not on point. But to me, that's still a huge, huge step compared to where I was flexing on my gym pics, you know, my hair out different, whatever. Like, we're getting there.
Have you felt pressured to delete those pictures and stuff?
No.
Good.
I'm not going to delete them.
I think it's really important that you keep them.
I'm not going to delete them because I'm human. It's part of my growth. Some people say, well, you should hide your sins. Well, that's what they class it as because obviously I'm exposed or whatever. I'm just like, but I'm human. I feel like when you completely erase your past, it's as if like for people who meet me for the first time, they're just like, rah, she's probably like quite a religious person, and yeah, I'm quite a spiritual person, and yeah, my faith takes presidency over everything else, but I'm still human. I've still gone through a journey, and I'm relatable to you. And part of that relation of how I can connect with you is I'm a gym rat as well. Well, I mean, not right now, and here's the proof of my existence that we can all start somewhere and end somewhere else, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, you know, whether it's your toxic marriage to leading to a happy, hopefully ending. It's all a journey, man. If I ignore my ex-husband and act like he didn't exist and only talk to you about my new husband, that's unfair. Because then I'm making it sound like my life was easy and that everyone can get it. It's just like that. But you had to go through this shit show in order for you to grow into the person you are today. And it's embracing that and not just being a victim to it.
What would be your advice to women? Because I've seen a lot of women as well who are in a similar situation where you said on the previous episode about wanting to date and they have a child, but unfortunately they don't have an environment of support where they can date freely because they have childcare and stuff like that. So they end up dating in environments where their child also is, like, for example, bringing the person to the house, or do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, having to do a play date at the same time as dating this. Do you know what I mean?
So, firstly, your children are extremely intelligent. Extremely, even before they started speaking, they are watching, they are taking in, they are mimicking you, everything. Even the way you blink, even the way you carry and hold something, the way you walk. Your child is picking up on everything you do and don't do, things that you say and don't say. So, having someone in the house and go, well, they're young, they don't pick up on it, it's cool, I'll put them to sleep. But then they're picking up on another energy, it's not cool. Especially if you don't know that person, you don't know who you're bringing into your environment. Firstly, you're messing up the balance at home, like completely, because you're bringing in someone else. It's very selfish because I appreciate you don't have much care, but there's other ways to communicate. There's, you know, if they're in nursery, you can go see them during the day. If their father is looking after them once a week, twice a week, once a month, whatever it is, that's a window. You know, finding someone else to look after your child. I think the only thing I would recommend, or I think is the healthiest option, if you feel like you genuinely don't have a choice, is a play date. If they have another child, so the children are playing together, whether it's soft play, and you're able to sit there and talk, but to openly, affectionately show another man who you know isn't the man love, and then the child starts building a bond with them, and then they're having to disconnect from that bond because you realise you're not compatible for whatever reason, and then the child's like, where's Uncle Derek? And then there's another person, and then there's another person. Like, your child then doesn't really understand what's happening, and they're building attachments, and they're losing. And I've actually met men who go, I got to know this woman with children. We built a great bond. It's been like 2 years. Now the relationship's over. The children still want to see me. And they're like, I don't know what to do, but I feel really bad. Because I'm not their father, and I'm not anyone superior to them. So why am I going to be in their life still? But they still built a connection. So I think it's unfair on the children for you to expose them. So for me, I just had to separate two different lives, completely different lives. Even if I get to just chat to them on the phone, FaceTime, and then go out for dates here and there, different windows, breakfast window, lunch window, whatever window you have, make it work. Separate it. Just don't do it.
And how did you retain yourself? You're a mum, you're a podcaster, you're a 9-to-5er, you're so many things. How does Heba come out of that? Especially in your dark times when you were saying in those, I suppose, the 6 years you were single when you were working everything out, or the year after even, where it was really tough and you were trying to...
I think it's survival mode. I think I've always been like very much a survival person, very focused. I know I have to separate everything. Like I try to always step outside the situation and assess. I try and reserve my energy for my son. So he's got the correct amount of energy. If I stayed in my marriage, I'd have no energy for my child at all. I'd be completely like drained every day. So just trying to focus, allow my child to be the center of why I exist, part of my purpose. So faith is like part of worship is to be a mother. Part of worship is to raise your child, is to work, is to provide, is to look after your mental well-being, is to go and work out. This is all part of worship. It's not just simply like praying, fasting, everything else. So to me, God is like my main focus, my purpose, knowing that God only gives me what I can handle. So no matter how bleak it got, I always said Alhamdulillah, which is I thank God. And I knew even though it's bad, could be a little bit worse. Even if someone else, this is absolutely suicidal horrendous. To put it on an extreme, I just kept on saying God won't give me anything I can't handle, and I just had to just focus on that.
I totally agree with you. I mean, there's not much I'm not going to agree with you on, and I'm able to... You saying it is much better than me saying it because you've lived it to say it, because I have the same views, but I'll get smashed with, well, how do you know? So I'm happy you're saying it. But do you think, because I agree with you that when you have a child, from that point on, your child is your 100% focus and that's your purpose personally. And now a lot of women are, I don't know if it's a new age thing or if it's just a culture thing or what, but that is sometimes met with negative response. Some women are like, well, I need to live for me. I can't sacrifice myself for my kids for the rest of my life. I can't this, I can't that, blah, blah, blah. Now, do you think you can only think the way that you just said, which was that your child is at the centre of your world, if you were genuinely clear that you really, really wanted this child? And that doesn't mean that some women, don't want their children. I do feel that, though, there is a difference in being very, very intentional and planning and deciding, okay, we want you, this is what's happening, here you are now, versus, oh, yay, this is a surprise I didn't see coming kind of thing.
So I don't think they are connected in any way. I think there's women who've accepted motherhood and they're genuinely embracing it and going, okay, cool, we've made this decision. We didn't anticipate it just yet. Whether they were married, not married.
Yeah.
When you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah.
But then there's something about life which is beautiful, which is there's curveballs all the time. Whether it's in your career, in life, losing someone unexpectedly, gaining someone unexpectedly, obviously in this case. So it's what your mindset is. And I think some people don't understand parenthood. They don't understand what it means because maybe they're dealing with their own trauma and they don't quite understand the duties and responsibilities. But I think it's how they word it sometimes. So for those who do understand it, but it can come across as selfish, they kind of lose their argument because of how they approach it. But I agree, and I've made a reel about this where I spoke very openly about when you become a parent or you become a spouse, it doesn't mean that's your only identity. Like, I'm a mother, but I'm still a podcaster. I still go to the gym. I still link up with my girls. I still, go to the movies. Like, I'm not just there to attend to my child, because in order for me to attend to my child, I need to also recharge my energy.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly, my mum is the extreme end of me. My mum used to make me feel guilty for going out. She'd be like, but you're a mother. You're a mother. This is it. Like, I'm like, but I think I can see it in her that she's upset that she never got to do half the thing that she wanted to do because she always was told it's
You're
so juicy. It's a mother. I said, Mum, but you can be both. So I also see her, it's not regret or resentfulness, but you can see there's a little bit of sadness of I never got to do these things because I
didn't know that was an option, yeah.
Exactly. So I say, Mum, it's okay. I said, in order for me to have patience with Khalil, in order for me to be able to pour love into him, I need to also recharge my mental. even my physical. I need to release. I need to deal with grieving on my dad. I need to be able to deal with like, you know, building myself up in order for me to be the best example for my son and to be the best energy. So when he comes and gets all whiny or needy or clingy, I'm not like, you know, and a lot of parents, they lose that identity and become a parent, or they go, I'm not just a parent, I'm going to go out with the girls, I'm going to live my best life. But you need to be present. Your child is literally waiting on you to just teach them, to show them something, to smile, to be present, not just to stick them in front of an iPad, not to just like they yearn for you. So it's just like when you see the beauty of that, you go, okay, I want to go out with my girls, but I know what I'm going to be doing with my child tomorrow. Like I'm going to really like not even compensate, but the balance is there. I've figured out the balance. And some of us need to learn the balance. Some people get it straight away and some people don't get it at all. And then it's like you're constantly leaving your child with someone else. Your child's now learning of several other people, not in a village vibe.
No.
But in a neglectful, trying to cling on to some other person's energy. And that's not healthy either. So I think it's just understanding your purpose. Accept your circumstances. If your ex-husband's a douchebag, if the father of your child isn't present, don't go, well, how come he gets freedom? How come? Cool. Feel it. But don't let that be your narrative, because you're going to feel crap about yourself all the time. You're going to feel low about yourself all the time. You're going to feel imprisoned in your own child's presence. And your child won't get the best version of you. It's just mindset. It's all purely mindset. Choosing happiness.
Totally agree with that. And in terms of practical advice, you've given a lot of advice on decisions and best moves and what you think should be done for this, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on everything. But practically, how old were you when you finally ended it with your first husband?
Just turned 30.
Just turned 30. You have limited, really pretty much no really experience on your own because you went straight from your parents' house to with him. What were the first things that were like terrifying for you, and then how did you solve them?
2 things. So financially, realizing, okay, I need to now keep everything afloat by myself, and this person's not going to save me, because his manipulation was, well, if you get back with me, this won't be a problem. Well, if you let me move back in, then I'll pay half the rent. I'll pay half the mortgage. So it was a feeling like, okay, maybe I need him. Maybe I need to go back.
Yeah. Which I know so many women are 100% in the same boat.
Plenty of women have stayed because of convenience, but at their own mental health expense.
Yeah, that's what you pay in.
Literally. And your children's mental health as well. And the other thing was the idea of being lonely, which again can gravitate you towards him or gravitate you to wrong energy. Because if you're feeling alone and you don't want to face your reality, you start filling your space with other people and other distractions, and you're just coasting through life without actually reflecting and going, okay, these are my circumstances, what am I going to do now? So instead you start filling your time with people. Could be your girls, could be getting to know other people, could be putting yourself in situationships, and it's like you're delaying your healing, you're delaying everything that you're going through, and you're also making that wound even deeper and deeper and deeper, but you can't see it because you're currently distracted. So learning to be alone and have those quiet times when you're at home, stop looking for a motive. And I think that's the hardest part, is that you want to feel validated, you want to feel like you're good enough, you want to feel like you're not a failure, you want someone to like boost your energy, so you start depending on external variables to dictate how you should be feeling. And also just making that decision that when you end something, to just end it. When people hear me and my ex, they go, oh, so how many times do you get back together? I'm like, 0. Like, but obviously, like, he's the father of a child, so surely you guys sleep together. I'm like, I don't know what EastEnders episode you live in. I said, but where I live, there's no confused, blurred lines. Like, when it ended...
I think that's a massive thing that people do as well,
Stop it. Just stop it. If you genuinely believe this person is toxic for you, toxic for your future, you're not compatible. You could be toxic towards them. But if you see there's nothing here that's working for your soul and your purpose, stop blurring the lines. And also, don't be too prideful to like reach out for help. Don't be too prideful to connect with family that maybe you've like locked off. So what if you have to lower your pride and go, yeah, I took an L. Take an L. This is the geekiness. L's turn to W's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's true. Every single L that you take, every failure, every single thing that you go and you can admit you're wrong, accountability and reflection and growth, that will only lead to your winning end goal. Can I say one more thing?
Please.
Don't make marriage your end goal. People fixate on like, oh yeah, once I'm married, everything's going to be great. Once I get married, everything's going to be amazing.
As you did when you were young.
Yeah. You achieve this goal and you're like, okay, I've just unlocked a level of heaven. Well, no, when you enter marriage, you're challenged. So with my husband now, constant conversations, constant reflections. Like if we have a misunderstanding, we're going to address the situation. Whereas some people are like, wait, you don't agree with me, but we're married. And they put this pedestal and this weight on this marriage. And they think as soon as they're married, everything's great, not realising marriage is an everyday duty.
Yeah.
Everyday duty. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when you're feeling tired from work. There's times, like, I think it was Michelle Obama who spoke about this. It was like...
About 10 good years. And
it's never 50-50.
Yeah.
It's very rarely 50-50. It's always compensating for the other person. And sometimes getting out your own hole and outside your own head and outside your own emotion and go, what can I do to serve this person?
Yeah.
They're having a rubbish day. What can I do to accommodate? What can I do to serve that person?
Yeah.
And not be like, oh, why are they being so this? Why are they being like this? And I think you have to really take time to understand what marriage is about before you dive in. Or any solid relationship. I was going to
say, I would extend that to a solid relationship, any kind of solid relationship.
Understand what comes with that.
Because everything you're saying, I'm nodding my head, boy. Yeah, and I'm not even married.
And then also, like, life's going to be life and someone's going to lose a parent. Yeah. How are they going to cope? How are you going to hold them? How are you going to carry them? How are you going to, help dignify them in places when they feel low? Like, rather than, why are you not providing? What can I do to serve you? What can I do to help you and lift you?
This is the last thing I'll say because we've got to make a move now. This has been so good. No, don't apologise. If it was up to me, we'd be here another 2 hours. But we've recently been having to sort out life insurance and, mortgage insurance and stuff. So he's been quite hesitant because he has a different view to me, which is like, we don't need to worry about this kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? We're going to be good. What are you worried about? If I was to pass away, you just sell the house. But what people don't realise, a piece of practical advice, which our mortgage advisor explained, when you get a mortgage, it's based on both of your incomes. So even if my income could cover the mortgage, it doesn't mean that would happen. It doesn't mean that I could remortgage off my own income alone and get the same rate to then cover. What we have now is based on both of our incomes. So it's actually probably cheaper because it's both our incomes than what it would be if it was just on me. Anyway, these are all the reasons that you need life insurance and mortgage cover and stuff. And we started talking about it. And it's another example of like difficult conversations you have to have. The prospect of one of us dying potentially. And what does that mean? And what are the deal breakers here? And I said, I think the thing is we are clear enough where we've been through enough low points where I know I'll always stand by you in your low points. And as long as you'll stand by me, then I don't really see what else could be a problem here.
Yeah, but I think it's important to have I saw a thing about this and I think I've shared it a few times on my socials where it says don't shy away from having a conversation about finance, about sexual expectations, spiritual expectations, what your love language is, understanding each other's love language and willing to accommodate to that love language both ways. Just because your love language is this does not equate to theirs. And have every single uncomfortable conversation straight away. Don't be like, oh, we'll talk about it later. Immediately. Like, we spoke about sex before we had sex. We spoke about everything. We're not shying away from it. And the thing is, when it comes down to it, when you have these conversations and true understanding and you're not shying away, there are no surprises, hopefully.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll say about my husband is because he's very faith-led, he always does stuff to honour God. So how he looks after me, how he looks after his mum, how he looks after his body, how he looks after everything, how he talks to people, how he handles people, it's all coming from God is watching me. So I always know we're going to be okay because his decisions always come from, am I pleasing God? And pleasing God isn't a mind-numbing sort of living in a little tunnel vision. It's part of worshipping is to make sure I'm treating my wife a certain manner, making sure I'm obligating her rights, making sure I'm giving her everything, making sure that, everyone's happy, everyone's content, everyone's fulfilled, everything's honest, everything's honourable. And I think by having certain values and constantly G-checking yourself, it's bound to work out when both parties share those things. But when you're trying to force the other person to think the way you're thinking, it's going to go downhill. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be very hard.
I agree. This has been great. How have you found it?
It's been good.
Yeah?
What I will say is, obviously, like, there's loads of points I didn't get to go deeper into. So people always say, yeah, but like, you didn't talk about this, and it's unfortunate when you're on a podcast, there's only so much you can talk about, and when you're being asked something on the like there and then, there's only so much you can digress or like talk about, dissect even. And
this is emotional stuff. Like this is emotionally draining to speak about. Not draining as in we don't want to talk about it, but it takes energy to dig this stuff and talk about it in this way. So you can't always let it out in one episode the way that you want to. Or
yeah,
one
and then
series
there might have been a couple of things where I'd be like, oh, I should have said this. So yeah, everything I say comes from like a human perspective, and it won't be perfect. And
this is just your first time. Don't worry, we're going to get you back for another series soon.
Welcome.
And I still need to come to yours on for a second episode.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this is exactly the kind of space I wanted to hold for this kind of conversation and to delve into. And I'm very big on speaking to people who I can learn something from, and I know people who are listening can learn something from. And whatever they're coming to talk about, they're an expert in that. Do you know what I mean? And I would say, after hearing what you've said, I would class you as an expert just navigating relationships and ending in a position with you being happiest, and always honouring yourself first and what your needs are first, not in a selfish way but in a way to fulfill those around you,
to be able to be as useful. And that's why I'm heavily getting into life coaching, because to me it breaks my heart when I see women and men just like struggling and being stuck in their ways. And if I can shift your perspective, if I can just talk to you and put things, it's such a shame just seeing people limited within themselves and just feeling defeated.
I totally agree. A bit of a curveball that I didn't warn you about. Your face dropped. I know. I do a world news segment on every series.
Okay.
So if you don't have one, that's absolutely fine. But if there's a bit of world news that you feel is important to share and you want to give a bit of light to, you can share that. I'm going to share mine, and then you can have some time to think if you have one. If you don't have one, again,
there's something that's popping in the media at the moment.
Okay, go ahead. What?
Just the earthquake and raising awareness.
What I was actually going to say. Yeah,
that's it really. Just, I think certain countries are ignored because they're far away, and we just don't want to worry about them, but they're not really our problem. And it's just like, it's a shame that certain other countries are very sensitive to home, and there's a lot of charities raising awareness and raising funds. And I think, let's not forget about the rest of the world who need your help and need a support, even a prayer. So for me, I'm respecting every single social account that's now trying to raise awareness to Turkey, Syria. There's around 3 countries that have been affected by the earthquake. It's refreshing to see, but it needs to continue.
Yeah.
The same way we start a movement, then it next in line another, I don't know, Cardi B gives birth, and it's just like that's taken over. So I think just being aware of that and doing what you can to help.
Mine was going to be that as well. There are so many social media pages, and it's a Google away to know about the right places to donate. I think because I live in North London, and so there's a strong Turkish community in North London, massive. So there are lots of like drop-off points, and often I'm seeing things like on my, I don't know, social media or texts or WhatsApp groups and stuff, just saying like there are drop-off points for this cause and helping this. So just be aware of that and be mindful to it, and switch on to it, and then start helping, learning, and all the rest of it. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for being so raw and candid and honest about everything. This isn't easy stuff to talk about, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm really honoured that you chose this podcast to break a few silences on what I had no idea about. And I hope to see you back here soon.
Thank you for having me. I feel honoured.
And where can everybody find out what you're doing, keep up to what you're doing, and all of that?
You can catch me on Instagram. I am HebSilverZ, or Growing Up British. So it's growingupbritish.h on Instagram, and Mama Hebs on YouTube. Also Spotify,
Apple Podcasts,
the works. I'm trying my best to be authentically myself, even with the backlash it comes with. But I think what people want is realness, and just to resonate and know that life's real.
That's it. Thank you for getting this far. Listening, engaging, supporting means so much. Please continue to do so. Please check out all the stuff that Heba's doing, and I will see you on the next series. Peace.
Aww.
That was good.
I feel like I rambled a bit. So.
I don't. I think you did really, really well. I think it was, like I said, these kind of conversations, they have to be free-flowing because it's in the bits where you think you're rambling that the best bit comes out of. You know what I mean?